Good evening, everyone. My name is James Jones, and I am the founder of a nonprofit organization called the Reinvention Center. I also have a co-host who hasn't attended yet, but I know he's on his way. His name is Maurice Clifton, and he is the founder of Sail with Sippy. T- Tonight we have a special guest, so we're going to kind of do something a little bit different. Um, it's a story that I'm interested in hearing. I have some details, but I'm interested in hearing. And if at the end of this gentleman giving his story or speaking on what he speaks on, at that time I will open the floor for anybody that would like to have any questions to the gentleman and whatnot. Should be, I'm thinking that we will, because it is definitely mind-boggling for me. You know, um, so I ask that everybody be respectful when he's actually telling the story, and wait and hold questions or anything to the end of it. If you do have a questions, I'm not sure if everyone knows how to work the raise your hand icon that's on platform. If not, then you can do anything to get my attention, and at that point, um, I will I will give you the opportunity to actually speak. The gentleman, so with that being said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce the actual individual, the guest that we have on the show, for him to tell his story. His name is Richard. Can you pronounce your last name, Richard? Because I'm not sure how to pronounce it, and I don't want to mispronounce it.
It, that's quite all right. Thank you so much, James, for having me on your show. My name is Richard Midkiff, and I just finished spending 23 years in the Florida Department of Corrections. I was released a year ago based on a motion that I prepared and filed to the court, and the lower court agreed that I had a justifiable claim. Unfortunately, a state attorney appealed that, and the higher court has overturned that decision, remanded me back to the Department of Corrections to complete the rest of my sentence. You know, just saying that, it really doesn't say what the facts are here. So, what I'd like to do is I'd like to walk you through a little bit of my history. I'm from a small town in Orlando, Florida called Apopka. I found myself at 4 years old with a single parent, my mom. My father passed away when I was 4 years old, and when I was 6 years old, my mom remarried to a very abusive stepfather. And that led me down a very abusive path where I witnessed my mom being abused and myself being abused. Um, in the following years, I found myself in a very precarious position. I was homeless in seventh grade, I quit school in eighth grade because I didn't know anything else to do. I was pretty much a product of the streets, product of the environment. Um, I'm from a very substance abuse family, and I can sit here today and tell you that the crime that I participated in was a singular bad act, but that's not the case. I had years of making bad decisions based on bad information that I received, which resulted in me participating in a robbery that ended up in a homicide of a drug dealer. When I was 19 years old, I was arrested for felony murder. I was booked into county jail for first degree murder. And in 1998, I was sentenced to 38 years in prison. Now, the interesting thing in my story is the person who actually committed this crime, he also pled out second degree murder. But based on the insistence of the family, they wanted the person who actually committed the crime to serve more time in prison. So on December 18th, 1998, both myself and my co-defendant, we went to sentencing, and the judge sentenced me to 38 years, and the judge sentenced my co-defendant to 38 and a half years, based on the desire of the family, based on the stipulation that was placed in the plea agreement. 9 months later, my co-defendant filed a modification of sentence, and he sought to have his sentence reduced because he felt like he should have a shorter prison sentence. The state attorney in that hearing argued that to reduce his sentence would violate the quid pro quo agreement that we have with both defendants, that the main perpetrator of the crime should serve more time. The trial court still insisted on reducing my co-defendant's sentence, and they appealed. The District Court of Appeal overturned his modification and said that, hey, there's an agreement with the co-defendant, and you cannot reduce his sentence to be something less than the person who did not commit the crime. So that was 1999, 2000, and I've operated under this understanding that we have an agreement, that we have something that's bound together, that because my co-defendant committed the crime, I will serve a shorter amount of prison time. But I'm not saying that I'm wrongfully convicted or anything like that. I participate in something that took somebody's life, and that's something that I've regretted since the day it happened. And that's something that I've tried to rectify in my life by the way I've lived while I was in prison. So I find myself in prison at 22 years old with a 38-year prison sentence and a desire to get educated. I quit school in 8th grade, can barely read, can barely write, I can barely count. But I made it a point to start educating myself. An interesting thing in the Florida Department of Corrections, if you have a lengthy prison sentence, no programs are really available to you. You're viewed as somebody that's not amenable to these type of programs. So I had to take it upon myself to educate myself. So what I did is I got around older convicts who were more positive, who wanted to help the younger guys in the prison system. I started reading books, I started teaching myself, and I found that, wow, I can do this. I can learn something. In 2004, I gained my GED at Avon Park Correctional Institution. It was also at this time that I was teaching myself how to invest in the stock market, because my view on everything is I'm about to spend a long time in prison. So what am I going to do when I get out? Because I understood at the time that eventually I'm going to be released. I may be an older man at the time, but I'm going to be released. So what am I going to do? So somewhere in my brain, I said, okay, I'm going to learn how to invest in stocks. So I taught myself how to do this. I saved up some money, and I started investing in stocks through some friends of mine, and I was successful at it. So for me, this was a milestone in my life, because my entire life I've been told that I can't accomplish anything, that I'm not worthy to do anything. And here I am in prison doing something that's beneficial for myself. I continue to study. I continue to try to do the things that would be best for me while I was in the Department of Corrections. In 2007, I transferred to an institution called Marion Correctional Institution. And when I got there, I was at a point in my life where I was like, okay, I have to do something else with my life. So I sought a job in the prison law library. And at the time, I was just a book roller. I'd pull books for guys, I'd give them forms, and pretty much just doing that day to day. There was another inmate there by the name of Ron Baker, who had already served 20 plus years in prison. And he was like the jailhouse lawyer of the compound. And he took me under his wing, and he started mentoring me. And he taught me how to litigate. He taught me how to research. He taught me how to be a paralegal and a law clerk, how to help other people. And when he was released from prison, I became the senior law clerk at Marion CI. So all types of responsibility is now on me. But it's something that I welcomed, because I found in myself that I wanted to help other people. I wanted to have a law library that would give men the tools and resources they need to access the courts, to do the things that they need to do. But we took it a step further. In 2015, I had an amazing supervisor that took over the institution. Her name was Chris Sutherland, and she was the warden of Marion CI. And her model of governing and running a prison was different from anything I've seen. She treated us like humans. So in 2015, I approached her with an idea. And this idea was a program called Storytime Dads. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to record fathers reading children books to their kids. Because I believe that by these fathers reading these books to their kids, that they would be able to heal some of the damages based on whatever brought them to prison. This warden, she approved this program, and we started filming inmates in 2015. And it was probably the most monumental thing in my life, because what I got to witness was these people who have been told that they're nothing more than a convict, nothing more than an inmate. And I'm watching them read these children books to their kids, watching them open up for the first time and just be genuine with their kids. And it was something that was so magical to me. So on Christmas Day of 2016, I'm out there in the visitation park, and a little girl walks up to me. And she said, she walks up and she pulls on my pant leg. And I was like, hey, what's up? You okay? And she said, yeah, I'm good. So, well, you need something? She said, no. I just want to thank you for making it so my daddy could read to me. The emotions that overcame me at that moment were so overwhelming that I couldn't do nothing but shed a tear. Because I realized something in this moment. This little girl got something that she had never had before. She had got the opportunity to watch her dad read to her. So that built something in me to say, okay, what we're doing here is the right thing. What I'm doing is the right thing. And I wanted to make everything in my life a product of trying to be the best me that I could be as myself. So we kept running with Storytime Dads, and as the time progressed, we started a program called SAGE. And SAGE stands for Such a Great Experience. And it's kind of, how can you have a great experience in prison, you know? But what we sought out to do is we created a program that would give men the tools they need to succeed while they're in prison so that they can succeed when they get out of prison. So the SAGE program teaches classes on communication, reflective listening, financial literacy, all the different things that people really need to be the best them that they can be. I sought this life because this is what I wanted. In 2018, I learned that my co-defendant was released from the Department of Corrections. And I was kind of thrown back by that because obviously my understanding of our agreement, our case, everything that we had was that he would serve more time in prison. So I filed a motion and the court agreed with me and they released me in 2019. I was released, and my 8th day from being released, I took the role as a senior paralegal with a company called Prisoner Connections. My mentor who trained me in prison got out and created a company called Prisoner Connections that's geared at helping people that's still in prison access the courts. So this was such a great honor to me because I was able to come out and continue to do the work that I was doing while I was inside. And that is helping the people inside successfully access the courts. In the year that I was out, I have worked with NYU School of Law as an advisor to their law students. I've spoken on panels. I've been to FSU College of Law, where I've worked with the law students there. And I've become the president of an organization called LEA, which stands for Legal Empowerment Advocacy Hub. It's the only participatory defense organization in the state of Florida presently. So our goal is to help people know how to access the court and know how to shape and use the laws. So my whole life for the last 24 years has been based around trying to help other people successfully either re-enter society or be a productive member in society. And now I'm sitting here on August 2nd, wondering if tomorrow is going to be my last day in free society. Pretty much based on technicality. Because the courts are saying because the stipulation was not specifically written in my plea agreement, I have nothing that I can rely on. I have nothing that I can enforce. Even though the victim's family wanted the person who committed the crime to serve more time. So this is where I find myself right now. And it's been 30 days since I found out this opinion, and I'm completely exhausted. I'm completely at my wit's ends. You know, I came home and, you know, this is something, and I think that I shared this with Joe last night. I came home with a 15-year probation sentence. And many people could not deal with that in itself, having to deal with probation and the rules and the guidelines. But I did. On top of that, I have an appeal that's going against me to try to turn me back to prison. And in this time, I've not only dealt with that, but I've been a citizen. I've been somebody who has continuously strived to get back to my community, to the state of Florida, to be somebody that's productive, proactive, and a successful member in society. So as I sit here right now, I'm physically, emotionally drained from this past month. And I really don't know, I don't even know how to wrap my head around the thought of going back into prison for another decade based on a technicality that the courts have said for the last 20 years, we have an agreement. But now all of a sudden that agreement doesn't matter. So I'm just a little lost right now, you know?
You know, that's understandable, Richard, your emotions and where you're at this point here. And I first commend you for actually getting on here and actually giving your story and everything, and sharing it with everyone. But I felt it was important that everybody hear your story because they need to understand how the system truly works. If they're not, and I say often, if they haven't been a part of the system, they still believe what they are programmed to believe. And when I say programmed, I'm saying it's not for you, but for everybody that's listening. When I say the term programmed, I'm saying whatever you watch on TV is programming your belief system. Whatever you hear on the radio is programming your belief system. And when they look at TV, normally it's a guy's doing a bag ad, the police catch him, and he goes to jail. Again, I hugely commend you for taking responsibility for what it is that you've done. And I don't want no one to misinterpret what it is that he's saying. He's not saying that he's wrongly convicted or any of that stuff there. What he's saying is that he had an agreement, an understanding with the court and with the state of Florida. Let me say it that way, because it was bigger than the court. It was with the state of Florida,
Mm-hmm.
and an agreement was that he was not to serve more time than the individual that actually committed the crime. He was a part of the crime, but he was outside. He was not in the house or whatever. He was not an active participant to the degree of what his co-defendant was. Let me say it that way. And as he said, there was a murder that was committed. He didn't pull the trigger. He wasn't in the house when the murder was committed. He was not even 10 feet within the murder. However, the family recognized that. and asked the court, which is unique and unusual, to make sure that Richard doesn't serve more time than the actual person that committed the murder. And by laws changing and other things, his co-defendant was able, the person who committed the murder was able to get his sentence modified, and he was released. Now that went against what the agreement and of the family, the state of Florida, and Richard, and all in any other parties involved had. Um, like anyone would do, Richard petitioned them. So now they let him out. The key thing that gets me that has me disturbed about this is now they're wanting to put him back in while the person who committed the murder is still free, out there living their life, going on, and put him back in to serve time. There's a lot of questions that I ask all of the people on here, and I'll get your opinions and your answers later. But is there such thing called overkill? Richard has came and he has expressed all the programs and everything that he has started while in prison. In a lot of instances, you see people go to prison and they do not do what he done. It is, this is not something that's common. People don't go to jail and start programs to help other people. People don't go to jail and just stay out of trouble. And then to show you that it was not something that was just done to get out of prison. I want you to keep in mind that he had a 38-year sentence, and for all those years, without even knowing that his co-defendant was going to be released, these are the things that he was doing. So he was doing these things to better himself and to help better everybody else around him. Because for the ones that don't know, there's very little rehabilitation in the system. And as he expressed, especially if you have a huge amount of time, because they feel that if you got, for example, if you have 50 years, they can wait till after 40 years go by and they'll start trying to educate you the last 10 years. So they don't allow you to get into these programs. They have a waiting list. It's not first come, first serve. It's more or less based on your time. Let me say it that way. So he had to fight over all types of obstacles to get to a point where he's at to be able to help others. So now let's get to the point of helping others. I'm sure, if he was compensated, that it was nothing. So everything that he done came from the heart. This is something that he wanted to do. It wasn't something that he was getting some type of monetary reward, or they was taking time off his sentence or anything like that. These are things that he wanted to do. He did them. He done them successfully. Okay, now back to my point that I'm making. He got, he did that. He got out. His co-defendant got out. He got out. He's out a year. Unlike a high percentage of the people, and I don't know the exact numbers, but unlike a lot of people, this gentleman continued on the path that he was on when he was inside of the institution. To once again, that's evidence that he's not coming home, or he was just doing what he was doing in jail just to get home. Because when he got home, he continued on it and started more and enjoying more organizations and created more organizations to help. So now, again, my first question is there such a thing called overkill? And would this be overkill for him to go back to prison? I personally feel that he can serve and help more from outside than he can inside. It serves, in my opinion, there is no purpose whatsoever for him to go back to prison and do another 10 years because someone, we don't know who it is, wants to see this gentleman back in prison. What type of justice is this? And this is why I titled this The Great Injustice, because there is no justice in this sentence. What is the purpose? He's rehabilitated. He's home. He's been home, and he hasn't violated any conditions while being home. He's went above and beyond what's expected of him on probation, because on probation you're only expected to follow the rules. This gentleman followed the rules and created other organizations on his own to help other people. And to some they may say, hey, that Yeah, that's great, but that's a huge accomplishment coming from where you were, especially from his background. A gentleman that only had an eighth grade education when he went into the system. So there's no question that he sat down and he applied himself and he made he did some soul searching, and took accountability for his actions. You know, I'm we are asking for the ones that have podcasts, the ones that at this or have any other outlets that may help them, that we are asking that you help them. Put them on your podcast, put them on there so we can get um something done about this injustice, because this is absurd. Like he's telling you, they can knock on the door right now. God, we God forbid it, but they can knock on the door right now and say, okay, come on, it's time to go. Right in the middle of the broadcast, because again, somebody wants them there. Um, I can't understand it. I've done, law work for many, many years, and I can't understand it. I don't understand it. Um, and like I said, I didn't want to take the thunder from his story, so I allowed him to give his story. But I can't, I really, I'll before the podcast is over, I will ask some questions. But right now, I'm so at a loss, like him. I'm at a loss because I don't know, really, I don't really understand what there is. So I have one gentleman that has his hand up though, and I'm going to allow him to ask you a question. Rich, go ahead, Kev. How you doing, Kev?
Uh, I'm doing all right. First and foremost, I want to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak, and I would like to introduce myself to everybody. My name is Kevin, and Mr. Midkiff. I'm also a Florida Department of Corrections former inmate, also. So I also want to let you know that I understand exactly what you mean and what you went through to a certain extent, and I commend you on the things that you were able to accomplish and how you kept yourself focused, because I know what it is to serve more than a decade in the Florida Department of Corrections. The type of inmates and people and officers that you're surrounded by, not so much as everyone on the basis of good and evil, but I know the struggle. So first and foremost, I want to commend you on that. And I also want to let you know that I was a participant in Storybook Dads. I remember the program. My children benefited from it, and I never knew who you were, but I also send you my thanks. But what I wanted to ask you was, were you able to secure the actual petition or motion that your co-defendant filed to secure his release? Because in my opinion, even if you don't have quote unquote the legal ground to, you know, request your release because they're claiming they don't have the information on paper about y'all agreement,
Mhm.
maybe you could kind of ride the coattails of his motion on regards to using not so much as the same grounds, but I mean y'all co-defendants. Any ground that's beneficial to him should at least be beneficial to you, at least just on the standpoint of we have the same case, it's the same situation and circumstances. I mean, and you would have a mitigating circumstances just based on the fact that okay, look, he's the actual principal. I mean, you
Right.
weren't the principal. So I mean, have you taken that? Have you tried or taken that avenue?
So, Kevin, that is a great question. And, it's very significant. What we have is 20 years of precedent where the state of Florida and the courts have said that we have a binding agreement. Okay. So now what they're saying is when my co-defendant was released because he was a juvenile and the judge said, we're going to resentence him based under Florida statute 921.041, that he can be resentenced. When I went back to court, the lower court acknowledged that we had an agreement, that there was an actual meeting of the minds here. So they understand that perfectly. What they're saying is, and what legally I don't agree with, is because that stipulation was not specifically written in my plea agreement, but was only written in my co-defense plea agreement, that I cannot raise a claim of specific performance of the plea agreement or a manifest injustice. And it kind of mind boggles me, because if you go and you pull um, my co-defense case from 2000, the Fifth District Court of Appeals is very clear in what they say, that we have a binding agreement. And now what they're saying, in my opinion, is completely contradictory to that.
let me. I want to do two things, Rich. The first thing I want to do is I want to ask you: are you familiar with New York versus Santabello, which is the
Yes.
precedent case on agreements? And I ask you that because Santabello makes it clear that an agreement don't always have to be in writing. It's something that can be done orally.
Yes.
Okay, and if you have it in their transcripts, kind of piggybacking on what Kevin is saying, if they have it in your co-defendant's transcripts that it was established, then that shows what your understanding was, or all parties' understanding was in the courtroom at that time. You know, and so when they're saying it's not written, when the court is saying it's not written in your plea agreement, it don't have to be based
Right.
on New York versus Santabello.
Right.
It only has to be implied that this is what we or understood by all parties that this is what it's going to be, and clearly you can show that. So you know, you're in the 11th, you're in the, okay, because Florida's the Fifth Circuit.
I'm in the Fifth District Court of Appeal, but I'm in
Okay,
the 11th Circuit.
11th Circuit and Sister Circuit is Fifth Circuit. That's why you kind of mixed that
Yeah.
up with that.
So I am well aware of Santabello, and that is my controlling case. I cited in my motion.
Okay.
Um, so I'm well aware of that. And actually, it's interesting you bring that up because Santabello goes into the fact that if one staff attorney in the state attorney's office makes an agreement and the other staff attorney or state attorney does not know, that does not negate
Absolutely.
what this staff attorney said, because these people are not operating as individuals. They're operating under the guise of the state attorney's office.
I agree with you, and I have seen not only Santabello, but I have shepherdized and seen cases because I like yourself had helped people when I was in the inside. I've done 20 years as well. But this is not about me. This is about you. So, um, um, I understand that other circuits have said that not only when one district attorney makes an agreement with a person, that binds the whole office, the whole branch. So now they can't come back and say I didn't know this, because what had happened in the case that I seen and remember was one U.S. attorney was handling the case, gave an agreement, he left, another one came and then wanted to change the terms of the agreement, and then that's when they came in and said no, you can't do that. So I don't know if you have, and I'm sure you have, but might want to look under and shepherdize just all agreements, all agreements on that there, because um it clearly was an oral agreement. It wasn't a written agreement. Just because
No, it was an oral agreement, and my argument is once we stepped into the court together to be sentenced together, and the sentencing judge spoke the stipulation into the record, this now wired our plea agreements together.
the thing about that is, and I definitely agree with that. But now here's the flip side of that. How can they hold you and not hold him? Meaning, if you're not going to honor the agreement, you got to take his agreement back. You have to put him back. I know you're not trying to go that route, and I don't encourage you, or nor am I suggesting that you go that route. It's just that these are questions and things that need to be proposed to whoever you're presenting this to. I don't know if you have an attorney that's helping you fight your case, but these are some of the things that need to be brought to them, because that breach of agreement issue is a broad one, but it's actually narrow when it comes to the contract law. It's what's expected by each party, and it's called each party must get some equity, meaning each party must get something out of the agreement. So now if you're not getting, basically you took a plea based on, or whatever the case may happen at the sentencing, your understanding was that if you would get out before he got out.
Right.
That didn't happen.
Right. That's exactly the truth. And there's a case, and this case is so on point with my situation. And the case is State versus Frazier, 697 Southern 2nd, 944 and 945. And in this case, what you had is three defendants, right? Three defendants that were all named Frazier. They committed a battery. And the older Frazier said, listen, I'm going to plead guilty to this, but the deal is you cannot go and prosecute the other two appraisers. The state agreed. They secured the plea agreement. They secured the conviction, and then they backdoored and they sought charges on the other two Frasers. So what the opinion says is, in this instance, they were eminently entitled to enforce that agreement. Even more obviously, the prosecution, having reaped the benefit of the agreements by securing the guilty plea, must be held to its detriments, including submission to the order below, specifically enforcing the undertaking. So,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
okay.
Go ahead.
So in that instance right there is what you have is what's called a third-party beneficiary to a plea agreement.
Right.
Right. Now, the two Frasers who never took a plea, they had nothing to enforce, but because they were a third-party beneficiary to the older Fraser's plea agreement, they were able to come and enforce that. And it's the same thing right here.
Okay, let me ask you this, and I have some comments. I want to mention that we have some comments that people on Facebook wrote, and I like to also share their comments with you or their questions and stuff. So for the people that are watching it on Facebook that wrote comments, I will get to them. That's the second thing that I have on my list of things to do. However, I'm asking you this question because of my mind is kind of running now. Did you, at sentencing, this is when it's happening. Was this agreement understood, or was it spoken on prior to you taking your deal?
No, it was not spoken prior to my taking my deal.
Right. What about him?
I took my deal first.
Okay.
When my co-defendant took his deal, it was specifically written into his plea agreement that the expectation was that he would serve a longer prison sentence than me because he was the actual perpetrator of the crime.
I asked you that because I'm sure you're aware that the government can't secure a plea bargain by trickery or illusion, right, or stuff like that. That's why I asked you that. I'm going to get back to that. I'm going to do a little bit more brainstorming, and try to, kick my brain into gear on this. It's been a little minute, but I'm going to do what I can. In the meantime, I have one gentleman that wants to got his hands raised. But before I get to him, I'm going to read to you what the comments were of some viewers on Facebook. The name of the viewer is Tipsy Hippie. I'm coming in and don't have all the details. However, is there such a thing as double jeopardy? I know the answer to that, but I want you to answer that because it's a question posed to you.
So I don't believe that double jeopardy applies right here, because when you get to double jeopardy, it's putting somebody twice in jeopardy of a conviction. What I believe that my legal issue is that I have 20 years of legal precedent that says that my co-defendant is to have a longer prison sentence than me. So instead of double jeopardy, what I believe that I have is an actual manifest injustice, or something that is not fundamentally fair. And manifest injustice and fundamentally unfair really are very close when it comes to legal standards. And if we get into the legal precedent and cases on it, they kind of run neck and neck. But let's talk about manifest injustice, right? Manifest injustice is a sentence that no judge under any body of law can hand down. So if we go back to the day that I was sentenced, no judge could have lawfully sentenced my co-defendant to a shorter prison sentence than myself, because it was stipulated, it was spoken into the record, and everybody knew, everybody was well aware that the agreement was that he was to have a longer prison sentence. So here's an interesting aspect right now. My trial attorney, who represented me back in '96 until I was sentenced, represents me today. He is in these current proceedings, he is the only officer of the court that was there that day. My sentencing judge has passed away. My prosecutor has passed away. So it's just me, my co-defendant, and my attorney. So when we go to court in 2018, he is the only officer of the court who was there in 1998 when I got sentenced. He's the only one that physically heard the judge state on the record that this is the caveat, that my co-defendants have a longer prison sentence than me. Now, this is all supported by a transcript. It's all documented. It's all on the record. But he was there, and he's here now. So for both of us to have gone through this for 23 years and to be trying to wrap our head around how the precedent is changing now, it's just confounding.
And I'm interject this question, get your comment, get to the gentleman. I don't want to neglect anyone. In every U.S. Attorney's office, and I know you're aware of this, so I'm saying this for the people that's not aware of this. Everybody has a boss. I don't know if the U.S. Attorney, the state's attorney that prosecuted you was the actual state's attorney, or was he an assistant attorney?
He was an assistant.
Okay, so that my point is, he has to get approval from somebody. Have your, just a suggestion, have your attorney now try to locate the state's attorney at that time and ask, do he remember that case, show him some things, and actually remember the case, and then try to have him come aboard as well if he's living. Hopefully, that will help out. I'm going to stop here because that's going to lead me into something else, and I'm going to come back to that. The second comment is, if you didn't, and this is Miss Marilyn Short that's giving this comment here. She's asking, if he didn't violate his probation, why would they be able to put him back in jail? I asked that you give her, this is a young lady that's never been involved with the system. So you have to give it to her on straight layman terms so she can be able to understand it.
Okay, so thank you for that question, first off. We have a few different things that are going on here. When I was released under the custody of the Florida Department of Corrections for probation. Their primary objective is to observe and oversee me in my reentry into society and to ensure that I continue to follow the laws of Florida. What happened was, when I was released, the assistant state attorney who argued against my release filed a notice of appeal. So that went up to the higher court. So we have two different things going on. I have not violated a single stipulation in my probation. As a matter of fact, my probation has allowed me to travel out of state to speak at NYU School of Law. They have made it where in under a year's time, I pretty much don't even have to report in. I just have to call in and provide my paperwork and make my payments. So there's two different things going on here. My probation is okay, everything's good with that. I have not violated a stipulation of that. What happened is the assistant state attorney filed a notice of appeal, and the higher court has overturned the lower court's decision to release me, saying that I had nothing that I can enforce because the stipulation that I have a shorter prison sentence than my co-defendant was not specifically cited in my plea agreement.
So I'm hoping that answers her question. With that, I'm going to move on to the gentleman, Mr. Jones. He has a question for you because he has his hands raised. Go ahead, Mr. Jones.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. First of all, I want to say, man, congrats and much kudos to your journey, man. Pray for that you have strength that you continue to fight. It's pretty amazing, man. This legal system is pretty amazing. I got a couple of questions to ask, comments. First, I want to start with, listening to your story, you told me that the family were arguing that the other guy get more time. What is their position now? Are they still involved? Have you got any assistance, any help, anything in writing from them now? Will that help?
So that is a great question, and my legal team has been attempting to contact them. The middle of last week, they did locate some of the relatives, and they've reached out to them. We have not received a response yet.
Okay, I got two more comments, questions, whatever. Second thing is, it seems as if one of the sticklers was that because it wasn't specifically written, therefore it doesn't have to be enforced.
Right.
Is that like ineffective counsel since that was needed and this guy neglected to do that? Before you answer that one, throw the other one in so I don't have to continue talking. And the last thing is during your testimony, you were saying that you use the word expectation. I've learned in life, boy, we play games with words. If the word is expectation, it's expected that he have a longer sentence. And that doesn't really, that's not as strong as saying that this is the caveat. This is the way it will be, so
Right.
that those are the two things. Was it expectation written or was it this is how it is. This is, in this thing. And like I said, I don't want to really, like James, I don't want you to attack the guy that's assisting you. But if he was negligent or ineffective,
Right.
that was the reason why we're not doing it. And then he should have did it, does that open up another door? Does that,
So those are really two great questions. So I'm gonna deal with the first one first about ineffectiveness. In my evidentiary hearing on this issue right here, the question was asked why this wasn't placed in my plea agreement. And again, my attorney, who was my attorney back in '96, is still my attorney now. And he openly said, I made a mistake. I should have ensured that was there.
oh,
So
no.
does that lend itself to a IAC claim under ineffective assistance of counsel and newly discovered evidence? There's a possibility there. The second question is expectations, right? So let's talk about expectations, right? You're 21, 22 years old. You just spent 3 years in the county jail waiting for whatever's going to happen in your life. And you go to court and the sentencing judge states on the record that the caveat in this plea, the insistence in this plea is the other person must serve more time. And then they sentence you and they give you one sentence, they give him a longer sentence. So there's my first expectation. But if we take it a step further, when my co-defendant filed a modification of sentence and the court reduced his sentence over the state attorney's objection, and that objection is that, hey, if you do this, you're going to violate Midkiff's rights because we have a quid pro quo agreement, and this is all on record, so that further strengthens the expectation.
Okay.
So then the state appeals that, and the Fifth District Court of Appeal makes an opinion overturning the trial court's modification of sentence, saying, hey, there's an agreement, there's a quid pro quo agreement, which is a contract stating that the co-defendant has to have more time than the defendant. Now my expectation is strengthened even more. So to fast forward to 2018, in 2020, when this opinion comes out and says that I have no expectation, it's a little hard for me to wrap my head around that. When for 20 years, you have stood by this standard to say that this person cannot gain any type of relief because it would violate my rights. But now you're saying I have no rights.
I got one more comment. I don't want you to try to address this here, but one day when you write your autobiography, I would be very, very curious to see who you offended. Why are they effing with you? Why is this, something is really going on here. That's how I feel, because it's a waste of money, waste of time. And like I say, you're a good dude. You're going down the right way. You have been positive and proactive. So I would really like to know whose daughter you touched or what's really going on here, man. And I'm sure you have an idea, or I believe that you might have who you punched or, who parking spot you parked in or whatever, man. Good luck, though. God bless you, man. On that day.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your questions.
All right. The next person I'm going to go to is Lisa. You're next, Mr. Jones. I see you holding your finger up. It's Lisa. How you doing, Lisa?
I'm good, thank you. Okay, Richard, I'm going to start with, I commend you. You are absolutely wonderful. We had a chance to talk a little bit yesterday, and I've been taking notes. That's just kind of what I do. And wow, you have done a phenomenal job in creating these programs and doing all this great stuff. I don't really know the law as far as I'm not a paralegal. I don't have a law background, but I definitely, in my opinion, I feel as though it is overkill. And my question to you is, it's election time. Would the election time have anything to do with this?
Did you hear? Or
Can
you
you
just
hear me?
thinking?
No, I heard. I'm
Yeah,
thinking about
sorry.
that question before I answer. On its face, I do not believe that elections are anything to do with this situation. What my gut tells me is there are people that are looking at the four corners of the document and not really looking at the spirit of this agreement.
Okay. Well, I definitely want to end my time with this. I am here. If anything I could ever do to help you, please do not hesitate. I look forward to having you on Injustice Speaks with Lisa Miranda. And I truly mean that. And I will challenge any other activists or group out there to come aboard, even if it's buying your t-shirts, which are awesome, by the way. You know, whatever it takes, I'm on board with you.
Well, Lisa, thank you, and I'm looking forward to being on Injustice Speaks. And you know, again, I want to thank all of you for this opportunity to speak with Joe and James and you and all the other people who have taken time to listen to me.
It's not a problem.
You know, I read something one time, and you know, you hear these stories about how when a mother, her child gets hurt or something, and she gets like hero strength. To that mother, she's not a huge superhero. She's just being a mom, right? So my thing is, I don't think that I'm trying to be anybody extra. I'm just trying to be the best person I can be to add value to other people in society and in prison. And that's been my thing for a long time. Again, you know, I accept responsibility for what I did. I was a messed up kid. You know, I was homeless. I was a drug addict. I made terrible choices. I made terrible decisions. And I have strived to make my life as a model to show that I honor what I did in my youth, to be a good contributing citizen.
I have one more gentleman that would like to comment, and then I'm gonna go back into what we were going into because I have, I have a question. But go ahead, Mr. Jones. This name is Kedrick Jones. Go ahead, Kedrick. Kid Jones. I'm sorry.
Hello, how you doing, guys? First of all, Mr. Richard, I want to say that I was also a part of the Florida Department of Corrections, and I've never been in a situation like yours have been. But I just wanted to ask one question. Actually, I wanted to ask you too. I wanted to ask Miss Lisa, what was her say on this, because she has a little. I would think she has a little bit more in law than we do, or than I do. But I really wanted to ask you: was there ever a time that you were ever able to like sidebar with your attorney and the prosecutors and try to work this out? You know, especially by it being tomorrow, everything's supposed to happen tomorrow. Was there ever a time that y'all was able to come together and try to figure it out? Did they ever give you that opportunity of trying to figure it out? Let me ask you that.
So when I went back to court, and you know, I've been working as a law clerk for 12 years, and I've been continuing that work since I've been out. So you've been in FDOC. You know how they drag you when you file something, right?
Sure. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So I've worked on close to 1,000 cases in the last 12 years. And when we filed my motion, the judge made a ruling within 24 hours. Never seen that before. And
Wow.
what the judge ruled was, I'm entitled to a status conference, brought me right back to court, did not do a show cause to the state or anything. So on October 2nd, we go to court, and my attorneys are there, and my trial counsel is Mark O'Mara, who gained his notoriety from representing George Zimmerman, and still, after 23 years, still there for me. Still there. Not about the money, not about anything other than being there for me. And we go to court, and my attorneys, they talk about, you know, my motion, what's going on, what I've done. The state attorney objected. The trial court actually said on the record, we really gonna fight about this? She said, I just resentenced the co-defendant. I'm very well versed in this case. I want you to go and get with defense counsel. I want you to look at the transcripts of what happened in his resentencing hearing, and I want this resolved. And he just would not budge.
Yeah, definitely there's. You have any more questions, Mr. Kidd? Okay.
No, sir. Thank you. I appreciate
Thank you, kid.
I'm moving to Joe now. Joe has his finger up. How
I
you
just
doing?
I just wanted to, it's not really a question. First of all, James, I want to thank you for jumping on Richard's story. Like within 10 minutes, you were like, okay, let's push this.
Yeah.
Let's push this right away. And that was within 20 minutes after I got off the phone with Richard myself. So I want to thank you for jumping on board and helping him get his story out there. Second, Richard, it's good to see you again. And you still brought tears in my eyes when you started talking about Storytime Dads. That's 2 days in a row. But I wanted to say this. There's the saying that a person can be detrimental to society. And I've been giving it a little bit of thought, and I hope it makes sense to y'all, because it made perfect sense in my head. But a person can be a detriment to society when they're dangerous. When they're out committing crimes, that's a detriment to society. And I just want this to resonate with other listeners that it can mean the difference to in helping Richard maintain his freedom. But my view is this: Richard can be, if you remove Mr. Midkiff from society, that is a detriment to society as well, because he can help. He does so much more good. It does. Society has a lot to gain from him being a free person than behind the walls. That's what I wanted to say. It's not a question. I just wanted to put that out there, if that makes sense to you guys.
I want to thank everybody for the comments. Good to see you, Mr. Clifton. I know you're always here with us, even though you may not be on live. We have a few people that are traveling Zoomers, and I appreciate everything that they do. I don't know if you have any comments, but before you get into I don't know how much you listen to and if you have any comments, but before you get into that, I want to say that I want to finish the line of questioning that I said we're going to take to go to a different area. You've been home a while, and inside, I know you've been doing a lot of things. So you have acquired a support team of staff on the outside and the inside. I would like for you to share, and share what support team you have on the outside, and what is their position on this matter right now.
So I think that probably one of the most prevalent people who is completely supporting me is a former warden and assistant deputy director to reentry for the Florida Department of Corrections. Her name's Kim Chris Sutherland. And she has been completely behind me in this, supporting me, has reached out to her colleagues in Tallahassee, and has signed her name to me. And you know, that's pretty significant, because anybody who's spent time in DOC knows that there's not many correctional officers, let alone wardens and regional people, that are going to sign behind you. So Ms. Sutherland has been a huge supporter of me. And, you know, ironically, before this situation occurred, she and I were in talks to create a podcast of how we can start talking about the prison issue in Florida, specifically of having a conversation of how the view is from the administration side and from the inmate side. She did 30 years, I did 23 years. We both have a lot to talk about. So she has been a huge supporter behind me in this situation that I find myself in. But in addition to her, Senator Dennis Baxley, Senator Jeff Brandis, State Rep Kim Daniels, State Rep Chevron Jones, and a few other senators that I don't even have their name before me right now, have all gotten behind me on this, because their opinion of this is what I've become and what I'm doing is the type of people that they want in society. So their view is to take somebody that has done the amount of time that I've done the time the way I've done it, and come back into society and done what I've done. It makes no sense to send me back into prison. So these are the Florida people behind me. In the past year, I've created a partnership with both NYU School of Law, the Bernstein Institute on Human Rights, where I'm working in an advisory capacity with their law students, and creating a jailhouse lawyer initiative program for prisons in New York that their law students are going in to teach their inmates how to be successful law clerks. We've recently partnered up with FSU, where we're creating a Florida jailhouse lawyer initiative. And our goal in that is lofty, I'll say that. But what we want to do is we want to create a whole new curriculum that will be adopted by the Florida Department of Corrections to give the men and women in DOC the proper training and tools to be successful law clerks.
I guess that would lead to my next question, what would be, do any of these individuals that you have spoken to have any reached out to the governor? Because I'm thinking that he can give you a clemency or a pardon or something. And if so, if you have something in the making, please share with everybody how we can go on and sign your petition or assist you with any plight that you have in that direction.
So that is a great question. And absolutely, all the senators and state reps that I just mentioned have personally written letters to Governor Ron DeSantis asking him to grant my clemency. And, you know, a significant point is I've had a clemency pending since 2014. That clemency is still pending today. My clemency attorney just updated my file based on Rule 17, which is Rule 17 deals with exceptional merit. And all of these senators have reached out to other senators and state elected officials to support me in this, and to ask Governor Ron DeSantis and Attorney General Ashley Moody, Chief Agricultural Officer Nikki Fried, and Chief Financial Officer Jimmy Petronis to bring my clemency up and have it signed for me to have a commutation of sentence. So that is something that is going on. I currently have a petition that's on my page, Justice #4, Richard Midkiff, on my Facebook page. And I have a change.org petition there that once it's signed, it goes specifically to the governor, the attorney general, and the state elected officials.
Can you repeat that again? It's Justice #4.
Justice for Richard Midkiff. And I can also be located at my Facebook page, which is Richard Midkiff, or you can email me at Justice #4 richardmidkiff@gmail.com.
Okay, can you put that on the chat for us? And also for all the Facebook viewers, I put it on Facebook. And if anybody else has a watch party or anything, please put it on there for anybody that would like to sign a petition so they have the gentleman out. Um, because it definitely signatures do help. Let me say it that way. It does help. And as we all, I'm inclined to say we all agree that this is definitely something that shouldn't be going on. With that being said, let me not introduce, but I'm going to unmute you, Mr. Clifton. How you doing tonight, sir?
What's up, brother? How you doing, man?
I'm all right. You never got a chance to meet Miss Richard. Richard, this is Maurice Clifton. This is the gentleman that co-hosts with me. He was running a little bit behind. He's the founder of Sail with Sippy, and so you may have seen that in everything that was posted on Facebook. So you get to put a face with the name, and the organization. Even though I know you haven't been here, I don't know what it is you asked. Do you have any comments, any questions, or anything that you would like to say to the gentleman that may be helpful, or just anything?
No, well, I just shared this on my page right before I came on. Because I know, once you send it to me, for me, that legitimized it before I got a chance to really to go into it. So I shared it before I ended up coming on and stuff. I got caught up in 13 after, you asked me the question. I got caught up in 13. I was just, brainstorming as to why those individuals are the most hated, and just trying to play out like why, even though we have seen why, I'm just wondering like how did it get that way, within the system. Is it because they're different, But anyway, back to not to take away from Richard's plight, man. I just feel like he just got to keep fighting, and we'll share stuff, and as much as we can. I'll put it. Make sure that you make a copy of this public so I can put it on my YouTube channel, Sail with Sippy. And if you get a chance, Richard, sign up and subscribe, and then whatever you post, I'll go ahead and I'll send you a friend request. So we'll just try to get your story out there, man. I too did 23 years, Richard, for a crime I didn't commit, but I just got to keep fighting. I'll get into your story and dig and see if I have any direction or any advice that I may be able to offer. But seem like you got everything pretty much under control, man. So yeah, just keep fighting. You know what I mean? So that's all. Anytime you come out and become an asset, and when you help other people break the chains of institutionalized slavery, then you're a threat to them.
Yeah,
that's what the whole thing is about.
Yeah.
So it's not about, if you just gained your freedom and went on about your business, then they wouldn't even be bothered with you. So but once you become an asset to where you break the chains of recidivism, then you're a personal threat to them.
right.
No matter how good you did while you were in there, no matter how good you're doing while you're out here, you're a personal threat because you could wake somebody else up to become free and to fight this cause of injustice like James, Lisa, and Moran and everybody else do. What's up, kid? How you doing, man? So yeah, just keep fighting though. All right.
Yeah, I'm not definitely built like that to give up. And I agree with what you say. I'm a justice advocate, and I really believe that the whole legal empowerment is something that starts within everybody. And once you own that, and you know how to access the courts, you know how to stand up for yourself, you now have power. And that's what I believe. You did 23 years. Several other people on this call have done time. And we've all been around those people who they want to hoard the information. They want to hoard the knowledge. They don't want to share it.
Right.
I'm not that guy.
Right.
In my law library, everybody that came in there to work was vetted, and everybody received the same materials, because for me, I wanted everybody to be able to maximize the help that we give to the people coming in there. So for me, it's a bigger thing than just me. It's about helping as many people as I can know how to use access to courts and be the best them that they can be.
Yeah. That's the thing about it. I wish I had listen more to James because he fought, he fought hard for other people and himself while we were incarcerated. But I was more into reentry and preparing guys not to come back.
Right.
So I did a lot of reentry things, inside. So that was my thing, trying to prepare guys how to survive like us and to make the right decision before leaving prison. You can't wait till you can't wait till you come home and think that it's all going to be, peaches and cream. So you got to prepare, man, because it's a constant battle and a constant fight to get back to a sense of normalcy, after being incarcerated for as long as we have.
Yeah.
So that was my thing. So I spent a lot of time in reentry. So,
See, I split my time, and earlier I talked about it. I'm a law clerk, paralegal. It's what I do now. I work for a company called Prisoner Connections, but I split my time with also preparing people in prison to give them the tools they need to be successful in prison so that they could be successful when they're released. And that was the focus of the programs I started there. Career Resource Center, which helped men for 6 months from going home, housing, jobs, clothing, food, all the things. Because even though I had a long time to do, I understood there's some major hurdles stepping back out there into society. If you don't have those tools, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
So I get you on that. And one of the things that I've continued to do since I've come home is partner up with an organization called Open Arms. And whenever the guys hit that place, I reach out to them, I ask them what they need, but more importantly, I tell them, listen, when it's 1 o'clock in the morning, you're stressing and you're in your head about being free and all the things that are going on, call me. Call me and talk to me. I don't care what time it is, I'll take your call.
Yeah.
Because when you do that type of time, you come home, it's a big adjustment. When I left the streets, we had pagers.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So.
But yeah, we had pages, but I had a cell phone. It was a brick, but it was
I had a brick too. I had a brick too, but you had to page me, and I'll decide if you were worthy for me to call you back.
Yeah. But again, man, I just I applaud you for your efforts, man. Just keep fighting, and hopefully we can get your story out there. And I think social media, people don't realize how powerful social media is. So, we can get it out, man. Just everybody just share them, post it on their page and ask people to share it. And so, it'll get out there, even with the letters and stuff. So I'll be keeping track, man. Just stay prayerful. One thing I've always been able to, that kept me sustained was prayer. I know a lot of people, I'm not a religious fanatic. I just know that it took more than my own doings to get me free early and to keep me since I've been home. So it's not all on me, man. I have to give God credit. So that's one thing that I always try to tell people. I'm not too big of so that's one of the things that's kept me since I've been home. So, add a dose to that, man, and everything will be all right. You could yeah. All right. So don't forget to do that.
Thank you.
Definitely thank everybody for their participation and everybody for any input or anything that they have to give. I wanted something on my brain, so I want to say this before we wrap this up. Richard, again, I would go back to, I would try to find that the state's attorney that approved the agreement for your co-defendant and yourself. I would try to find any and everybody that was a part of that courthouse, including the transcriptionist, the one who actually took the court reporter who took that, and I will get actual affidavits from them, because then you can that's presenting new evidence to the court, because I'm sure that it's okay that your attorney was there, and I get that, but it's looked at as if he's a part of your team. He's on your side. So you need something that's independent to actually put before the court. And that's why I'm saying look for the state's attorney office. Even if you got to do a Freedom of Information request, in order to get the court records surrounding your case and your co-defendant's case, so you can see if there were any notes or anything given by any one of the U.S. attorney, I mean the state's attorney. I say U.S. because I was in the feds.
Right.
The state's attorney or the assistant state's attorney. Those are just some options I would throw out there to you, and some suggestions I would throw out there to you, because you need something independent of your attorney. And the state's attorney is officer of the court, and the court reporter is officer of the court. So what they say will hold value. If they're not there and you get the notes from there, you can show a paper trail of these are genuine or authentic notes, so they can be introduced as evidence. I would, my opinion to you on that is to definitely try to find something that's independent or that is of your attorney, because right now, even if you go for NFS, I know Mr. Jones Arthur Jones has said that an IAC claim, they may, the state's attorney may come back if you have to go that route. And I know that is an option, but it's a far option. I know that. I understand that. But if you have to go that route, I feel that the state's attorney is going to argue that, hey, y'all have been, connected by the hip for many, many, many years,
Right.
And now he's just saying this to help you out on a personal level, opposed to a professional level. I think that he would say something like that, and that's why I feel like it's imperative that you get something that's independent of of your attorney, so he can substantiate anything else that you have. Just the idea for you.
Absolutely, I appreciate that. I'm gonna look into that tomorrow.
Okay. I'm here. You have my contact. So anytime that I extend the same thing you extend to the guys. Anytime you get frustrated or got something on your brain and you would like to bounce something off of somebody, I am here. You call me. I work overnight, so I am up at night at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. So you feel free to reach out to me, and continue your plight. That's what I can tell you. In all the platforms, I'm sending a request out to everybody that's on here. You already know Mr. Clifton, Joe, Lisa, and anybody else that's looking and that has a platform. I ask that you either contact myself or find some way to get in contact with Mr. Midkiff and try to get a story out for him. With that being said, everybody, I definitely appreciate everybody. I appreciate the comments, the respect and everything. I will be in contact with you, Richard, because I'm going to help you any way I can. I'm definitely going to go on there. Like I said, I put everything on Facebook for the Facebook viewers. Thank you for viewing. Definitely go on the site that I put on Facebook and sign the petition. I know it says donate. I think someone told me it says donate some money. If you can't donate, then share it so we can get it to somebody else. Do something. Thanks again for everybody, and everybody have a good night. I will be in contact with everybody. See y'all next week. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Take care.